And we are live back here at the University of Maryland, now joined by Mike of MPlex as well. Mike, thank you so much for joining us here today. So far, what are your overall reactions for today's tournament?
I'm glad everyone has been having a blast. I see there's a lot of people in the booth and the audience just shouting and like getting excited. That's kind of experience that we wanted for not only are we making a virtual reality experience, but we're also making a game. So I'm glad that people are finally recognizing it as such after so much development.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, obviously the game isn't at its full peak as of yet. There are still things coming along down the road. Like today, we only have 2 tanks available, but there are more tanks coming out and there's more maps coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. So we actually, in the first tournament we ran for the qualifications round, we had tracked vehicles in the game. So the idea with the system we have right now, we have hover vehicles, and those are the vehicles that are very fast moving, and they're meant to be different than tracked vehicles, which are less maneuverable but are stronger in armor and have a separate turret system. And for the launch of the game, we plan on doing a system where users can unlock with a player progression. They start off with a certain amount of tanks, and then they will unlock them as they earn credits, and credits are earned by taking salvage of different vehicles in the game.
Okay, so it sounds kind of like a battle pass kind of thing, or something where it's like a progression thing. As the more you play, the more you unlock.
Yeah, and we want to emphasize that it's going to be solely through the game. We're not going to have like pay to win for anything. We're going to make the progression system based on players who are winning and are able. We want to emphasize a real team play with a voice chat in our game to get a lot of people to maybe find each other from Steam and Oculus communities online.
Sounds awesome, and very excited for the Behemoth to return as well. That was a big favorite of ours in the group stage.
Oh, okay.
On top of that, there's some other maps that we know are in the works to be coming to the game as well. What can you tell us about some future maps potentially?
Sure. So we're working with an art team in Australia, Upsurge Studios, and they did a fantastic job with this first map called Amphitheater. And we have a map coming up soon called Dune, which is a similar style, and it may have a nighttime environment. We kind of want to have a couple maps within these same game mode feels. So we want to have small to medium game modes, and then the map after that, we want to have a big map for 8 versus 8 called Outpost, and some maps along that theme as well. But we want to make it so that people can play this kind of style, like arena, more frantic, and like, and then also with the Outpost, which is going to be more long range, and more people that are used to World of Tanks and games like that. I think we'll try to bring that audience in.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, and I think that's great that you're bringing variety as well with that 3v3 versus the 8v8. Now, on top of that, we have quite a few weapons available. One that's not available today is the flat cannon. What does that bring to the table?
Yeah, so the flat cannon was a choice we had to make this week. We're going to have it in the tournament, but as we saw people play testing it a lot, we realized that it can lead to a bunch of issues that we haven't recognized with other weapons, because a lot of other weapons like the laser beams, the projectiles are more long range, and they offer variety in terms of continuous versus like immediate projectile shot. But the flat cannon is supposed to be a shotgun type weapon that we want to implement, and has like spread. So it's going to be more close range. Another weapon type that we want to implement, and you may have seen at the previous tournament, is the missile system. We're going to have different kinds of missiles, like guided missiles and regular missiles that fire like a bunch at once. So basically just a variation of the projectiles that we have, like the bolter.
Yeah, I love the idea of more variety coming to the game. So you've talked about different tanks, we've talked about different weapons and maps, as well as the battle pass potentially that will be coming as well. Is there anything else that we should know about, or that you want to tell spectators about to maybe look forward to?
Yeah, just look forward to we want to make this, first and foremost, this is a VR game, and I don't think there's a lot of games out there like ours that you can play over and over, and you don't have to feel as sick as like a lot of other games. You have a lot going on. You have to use the touch controllers, but we offer a couple of controller options. I think if people want to use a mouse and keyboard, if they want to use gamepad, we will support that. And then on different platforms, we hope to get Steam and Oculus in the crossplay. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so it sounds like we're just at the tip of the iceberg for Core Disruption. We're super excited to see what else you and the rest of the MPlex team have to offer for this game as it continues to grow. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and we're excited for the second half of tonight's show.
Yeah, can't wait to see what happens.
All right, appreciate it with that. We are just moments away now from our third place matchup tonight between Thonk and Team Trap Money. Two teams here in our third place match. Joe, we got a chance to talk with some of the competitors here during that break. Not only were we admiring some of the amazing jerseys they have, but the different play styles that we've seen throughout today's tournament as well. Team Trap Money and Thonk going up head-to-head today is going to be interesting. These are two teams that, from what we saw, have a pretty similar play style. Both play fairly passive. We usually try to wait for the other team to come out. Now, we did see Thonk come out essentially with that Gatling gun here in that last go-around. It obviously didn't work out for him here, and we're seeing that change made here in the third place matchup right now. This is the last stop here for one of these teams to try to get some money out of this initial tournament.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like quite a bit of a change coming in from Thonk. So they are going back to the railgun for one tank, running full rail with all three weapon slots covered on it, but then bringing in lasers, something we really haven't seen from Team Thonk much at all today. They're going to roll 3 lasers on 2 tanks.
Absolutely, so it'll be definitely a different strategy here, but we'll see if it will be Team Trap Money or Thonk in this best of 3 in the third place match. Winner has a nice little prize pool that they'll be taking home as well. Be a cool $300 in their back pocket. We are underway here in game 1. Both teams out heading towards the center. It'll be Thonk spotting Team Trap Money first. The damage getting laid down onto Team Trap Money. Amon's front part of his tank already taking damage, and Team Trap Money starting to move in, trying to be the aggressor. Link has all of his plates touched. Blaze is taking a lot of damage as well. That front left panel already in the orange. No damage to the core as of yet, but it is an all-out brawl here early on in the third place match.
Yeah, Link in a tough situation, taking so much damage. Blaze as well, though. Blaze with orange damage up toward the plate up in the front and taking tons of core damage as well.
Just absolutely dropping on both sides. Link down to 4. He'll be the first one out. Thonk down to 2. Blaze will join him next, back to a 2v2 as it's 2 quick exits for Link and for Blaze. That leaves Koi and Amon on the side of Team Trap Money, and it's Cats and Goof on the side of Thonk. And now we're going to go back to playing that, using that obstacle there in the middle. They're trying to look for those sight lines, as now Koi is caught out and Goof is going to punish him for that mistake. They're going to try to rotate around this obstacle, using that to deflect some of that damage.
Yeah, almost all the opening damage going down on Blaze and Link, and that's why we see those tanks out of the mix so quickly on. On top of that, though, Koi taking some orange damage for the front left of his plating.
Yeah, Koi taking a lot of damage on the front side of that tank. He'll need to try to rotate around and try to spread that damage out. Now that front left exposed, the front right as well. 85 health left, down to 55. Massive damage coming out from Thonk onto Koi, and he goes down. It's now a 2v1. Amon, though, full health for the core. Damage pretty well spread out across his entire tank. Goof under 50% now, down to 14. This has a chance to go down to a 1v1, but Amon's core down to 60 as well. He's gonna have to play the positioning incredibly well if he's gonna try to make something happen here. It's down to a 1v1, but it doesn't matter. Cats comes in for the cleanup, and Amon drops down, and it will be 1-0 in favor of Thonk.
Yeah, unfortunately for Amon, that upper left plating toward the front of the tank went down, and there was another player right there able to hammer right into it and hit the core.
Came down to almost a 1v1 opportunity there, but unfortunately with Amon's core being exposed, taking the damage already, it didn't play out too much longer. So Thonk takes the 1-0 lead here in the third place match. Just one win away from taking home a cool $300. That's pretty good for a couple meal swipes here and there. But nonetheless, who doesn't love taking home some kind of prize money here at the inaugural world premiere tournament for Core Disruption? Both of these teams going through the quarter and semifinals, dropping down into the third place match. Some of the best teams we've seen here today. They've made it this far for a reason. And now Team Trap Money back up against the wall. They need a win here in game 2.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't see Thonk run the full auto cannons on every tank this time. I think they were able to bring a little bit more variation of damage, able to paint some more damage down early with the lasers, and then finish them off there with the heavier bullets as well. In the end, it ended up being a great strategy for them. One player apiece going down early on, but then in the 2v2 situation, Thonk really able to take it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this game still being pretty new, players and teams are still trying to work out strategies. I think the auto cannon might be one that we can safely cross off the list as of right now.
At least not for every weapon
At least
slot. You can mix it in here and there, but all 9 weapon slots definitely not filling with auto cannons.
All right, both teams loading back into the game for game 2 of this best of 3 in the third place match. Joey, right after this will be the grand finals. And it's going to be a great matchup there as well. But again, we still do have at least one more game here in the third place match with Team Trap Money starting to pull it back there a little bit in game 1. They were very close to really having that 2v1 opportunity. But unfortunately, there's this massive heavy damage coming out from Thonk, and it was just really hard to survive.
Yeah, when that damage starts getting laid down, it just becomes tough. And in that situation, again, that upper left plating going down early just allowed for an exposed core pretty early on from the side flanker. In the end, that ended up being the difference.
Now, it's almost like when your front paneling goes down, you kind of want to switch around and like use your back end as your front, but then that completely inverts everything. Right goes left, left goes right. And for some people, not saying anybody here, but for some people, that is a completely different element of the game that's really hard to grasp, especially in a VR simulator where you have to look around and swivel your head as well. It's just an extra element that makes this game even more challenging for competitors to play at an elite level.
Absolutely, and not only that, but everyone using hover tanks today, you also have that quick mobility, that fast movement coming out. And in a 2v1 situation, sure, you can turn as much as you want, but you're always going to have another player turning with you, and they're going to have 2 different angles covered, and it just becomes tougher and tougher.
Absolutely. We are just moments away from game number 2 as both teams are loading back up into that lobby, making their final selections on their tanks and their weapons. Joey, I'm going to try to predict the tanks that they're going to use. I'm going to go with Scorpion because we haven't seen Talon played as of yet, even though that is one of the tanks available here. And as we're about to load in, we will see what those selections are. And yes, Joey, I should have bet you $5. It's all Scorpions again.
I don't think I would have taken that bet today, just given the trend. But we do have Team Trap Money coming out. Full lasers, 9 slots filled by lasers on the opposing side of Thonk. They are going a little bit back to what we saw with that railgun. They only ran it in 3 slots last time, now going to 6 with the other 3 slots filled up with lasers.
It'll be interesting to see here if Team Trap Money is going to do what we saw Moron's Cube do, which is be that aggressive team with the lasers going into this last matchup. It might work. It might catch Thonk off guard here. Otherwise, with the lasers playing that passive play style, it seems to have not worked from what we've seen today.
Yeah, it's tough to play passive with lasers, and you can do it. You just have to really use your covering very effectively. You have to paint the target. When your heat gets up too high, slide behind a building, wait it out, then come back out. But when you come back out, Thonk is going to be ready with those cannons available as well.
Those cannons already firing off, and a lot of damage coming out onto Thonk early. That's, again, an advantage of those lasers is you will put some damage onto those plates early on. But again, Thonk with those heavy hitting weapons on their tank can do some massive damage real quick as well.
Yeah, damage coming out pretty early. All the tanks really being painted up by the lasers from the side of Team Trap Money. But for the side of Thonk, again, that heavy damage that you mentioned, John, the plating is starting to turn yellow. It's eventually going to turn orange as that damage continues to be laid down by the railgun.
And Koi was trying to sneak around that backside for a flank opportunity. Pulls back at the last moment to stay grouped up with his team. Probably a smart decision there. As now Thonk trying their best to play around that building as an obstacle to hold off that damage. Now Link trying to sneak around the corner. Amon is there trying to back away. Again, these tanks, high mobility for these hover tanks, are able to move around quite a bit. They also have to take into account those lasers having a cooldown period, and Amon is getting absolutely demolished right now. That front right panel completely gone. 41 health left on his core. down to 11. Amon's not going to survive too much longer unless he can find a way to spread that damage out, but those other plates are starting to turn orange as well.
It looked like the end for Amon, caught up against that building, but somehow his teammates move in just in time to allow him to rotate out. He gets out with 11 health, but he is very far from the opposition here. He's going to be able to lay a little bit of damage down, John, but not too much to work with.
And now Blaze has that front right panel down as well. Core still at 99. Not too much damage putting down there as of yet. All the core is still intact on the side of Thonk. Amon's going to be playing from deep, looking for those long-range shots. Helping lay down some more damage, and Link taking some massive damage as well, but Blaze goes down first, and it's a 3v2 favoring Thonk, but Link is at 37 as well. Amon still somehow surviving with 11 health left on the core.
Yeah, Amon not able to put down too much damage in return, though. Getting a little bit of paint on the back of Cats with that laser, but now he's been found out by Link and Goof. They're both moving in. Koi trying to lay down some damage on Goof, but Amon with very little health.
Koi down to 10, down to 0, and Thonk will take the third place match. 2 games to 0. That's $300 in the back pocket. Pretty nice prize pool there for the third place finish. Team Trap Money, best, probably, you know, I'm kind of surprised Amon lasted that long with 11 health. I mean, that comes down to his positioning, being able to survive that long, using those obstacles to really help benefit him to stay in the game even longer, laying down some long-range shots. Obviously, it's very, very tough in this game to survive when you only have 11 health left on your core and with so many panels exposed. But, you know, again, shout out to Team, you know, Trap Money. It was, you know, a very tough matchup here today for them, but finishing 4th overall is not bad for the first ever tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. The rotation from his teammates to keep him on alive was great, but because of that, he took so much damage, he had to move out of the way and able to paint a little bit back and forth, but unfortunately not enough to stay in the game as it does get closed out by Thonk.
And Thonk takes home the third place prize, going home with, again, $300. That's not bad for finishing third, Joey, but up next is our grand finals with $2,000 on the line. It's the #1 seed, Moron Cubes, going up against Savage Academy in the grand finals. We're going to toss it to a quick break. Do not go anywhere. Those grand finals are coming up next.